Happy New Year! I thought it would be fun and maybe informative to share the best and worst art supplies I purchased in 2024. I'm a frugal artist. I prioritize quality over quantity, but that doesn't mean I always buy the most expensive supplies either. I tend to research a lot before I buy art supplies because I don't want to spend money on something that doesn't work or I won't use. At the same time, I like to experiment and try new things. I usually only share supplies and techniques that I know work well, but I think it's important to recognize I make mistakes and not all my purchases were winners. So here's my honest opinion on my best and worst art supplies I bought in 2024. We're gonna get to all of this stuff back here. Let's start with the worst art supplies. These are the ones I won't be repurchasing either because the product wasn't great or it wasn't a great fit for me. Then at the end, I'll cover the best art supplies I got this year, including my #1 favorite art supply that only costs $10. I was so excited to try this product. As you know, I'm a big masking fluid user, and this one seemed too good to be true. Spoiler alert, it was too good to be true. This is the Permanent Masking Fluid by Winsor & Newton. It's a liquid wax that is supposed to repel watercolor. Once you apply it to the paper and it dries, it's permanent, so you don't remove it like normal masking fluid. I wanted to try this because it sounded like a great option for my layered masking fluid paintings. In theory, you could apply it over already painted areas and they would be protected from subsequent washes. And then at the end, you wouldn't have to peel off the masking fluid. I also know some people are allergic to latex, the main ingredient in most masking fluids. So I wanted to try this and see if it would be a good alternative to recommend. Unfortunately, this was a fail for me. In my testing, I found that it does repel watercolor initially, but it doesn't work well if you paint over the same area multiple times or do multiple layers. Eventually, the permanent masking fluid stops repelling the watercolor and it gets painted over. So it just doesn't work for the paintings I like to do. Instead, I like Winsor & Newton's colorless masking fluid or PBO drawing gum. And I haven't tried it myself, but PBO does have a latex-free version of their masking fluid too. I wanted to love this. It seems like everyone does, but it just didn't work for me. And it's a bummer because it's kind of expensive. This is the Art Glitter Glue. It is a white glue that dries clear. It's highly recommended in the paper crafting and junk journaling world. Art Glitter Glue sets immediately. You don't even have a second to reposition what you're putting down. For YouTubers filming their junk journaling process, this is a pro because they can finish projects faster. They don't have to wait for glue to dry. You'll even hear some of the YouTubers say, I would use this other glue, but since I'm filming, I'm gonna use my Art Glitter Glue. I prefer a little wiggle room. I can never seem to put things down exactly where I need them the first time. So crafting with Art Glitter Glue gives me anxiety. They say it doesn't warp paper. That has not been my experience. If you're just applying a fine bead of glue around the edges of a paper to make a pocket or something, it works well for that, but you need the fine tip applicator. If you put it all over the back of a piece of paper and press it down, you will be able to feel lumps of glue or ridges underneath the paper. It sets so fast you cannot smooth out the glue underneath the paper. It's not noticeable on thicker paper or cardstock, but it's very noticeable on thinner papers like music paper or vintage book pages. My fine metal tip was useless after only a few uses. So when you get the fine metal applicator, it comes with a stainless steel pin that they say you're supposed to keep in the metal tip when you store the tip in this little vial. Well, as you can see, the green part, the head of the pin, broke off of my pin when I was trying to remove it from the metal tip. So now the pin is stuck in my metal tip and I can't use my fine tip applicator. I won't repurchase Art Glitter Glue. It's a relatively expensive glue. This 4-ounce bottle with the fine metal tip is about $17 on Amazon. By comparison, this 4-ounce bottle of Fabrifix is just under $9. I rarely ever reach for this glue. I don't think there's a one size fits all glue. Instead of art glitter glue for collage, I use glue sticks like Uhu or Elmer's Craft Bond, or I use Golden Matte Medium. For junk journals, I'm using Fabrifix, glue sticks, or score tape, which is a double-sided permanent tape. Everyone is always looking for a cheaper 100% cotton watercolor paper. Lots of artists love this Academy watercolor paper by Bauhong, so I wanted to give it a try. I do think this is a good paper. The cold press has a little bit more texture than Arches. When I ordered this paper, it was only available in blocks, so it's glued on all 4 sides with a little gap at the top so that you can remove the paper. I discovered I don't like painting on watercolor blocks, and I'm really glad I found that out with a less expensive paper. Now, I like the idea of blocks. You don't have to tape or stretch your paper. You can paint all the way up to the edges of the paper. But there are too many cons for me. I can't use my light box to transfer my drawing to the paper, so I have to use a different transfer method. The paper isn't flush to the surface that I'm painting on, so I feel like I can't rest my wrist comfortably. The big one for me is with a watercolor block, you can only use one piece of paper at a time, unless you remove a piece of paper from the block, which defeats the purpose of using a block, or you have multiple watercolor blocks. I often start more than one painting at a time, so I prefer watercolor paper in a pad that's glued only on one side, and I can pull out pieces of paper as I need it. If you like working on a watercolor block, I do think this is a good quality paper to try, so I'll put a link to it below. They do sometimes have this paper in loose sheets, which I might try in the future. The other new to me watercolor paper I tried this year is the Strathmore 400 series watercolor paper. I actually didn't buy this. It was given to me by a family member. Right away, I noticed it doesn't say anywhere on the packaging what the fiber content of this paper is, how much cotton it contains. So maybe 0% cotton. All I know is it's definitely not 100% cotton because they would advertise that on the packaging. So I already knew this paper would be limited to swatches, experiments, and watercolor sketches. I don't ever try to do multiple wet on wet washes or use masking fluid on paper that isn't 100% cotton. I did take some of this paper on vacation and used it for watercolor sketches. They turned out cute. The colors look nice and the paper was fine for quick, light washes. So I will use up the rest of this paper for watercolor sketches. But I wouldn't purchase this paper myself. I prefer 100% cotton paper, and I really don't like this pad of loose sheets. It's not even glued across the top. So as you can see, I'm trying to keep the plastic packaging on here to keep all the papers together because I don't have any other way to store them and keep them all together. I prefer watercolor paper pads. I think they're easier to store and keep all the paper together, and I think the paper is better protected with an attached back and cover. My absolute worst art supply I bought in 2024, and I just got this recently and I already hate it, is the We Are Memory Keepers paper trimmer and scoreboard. So I've been using this big, ugly Fiskars paper trimmer for 10 to 15 years. It's a workhorse. It has a rotary blade and this big bar clamps down on the paper. The problem is this paper trimmer is so big and clunky and I can't leave it out. I have to store it in the gap in between my cabinets. So I started keeping an eye out for a smaller paper trimmer that would fit on my desk. I was at the craft store one day and this one caught my eye. I like the aesthetic so much better. I love the turquoise and it was under $30. Plus it doubles as a scoreboard. I already have a scoreboard that I like, but I thought I could replace my big paper trimmer and this big scoreboard with one item that does both functions. Size-wise, I'm very happy with this new one that folds in half, but it has so many design flaws. The plastic piece that holds the blade is kind of flimsy, but at the same time, it's really hard to open. You have to pull up on both ends to open it. When it's open, your blade is sticking straight up in the air, so you have to remember to close it. To use the scoreboard, you have to flip this thing over to have a raised edge that you can push your paper against. And don't forget to push the blade all the way up so you can close it. It's just a nuisance. I wish I could just push the paper up against the plastic bar. But the plastic bar doesn't really make contact with the board, and it basically doesn't do anything to hold your paper in place. There is nothing holding your paper on this side other than your hand. So if you don't hold the paper firmly, it will move while you're cutting. The edge of this plastic bar is nowhere near where the blade cuts. So it's really hard to line up a cut if you're not using the measurements on the board. On my old Fiskars trimmer, the edge of the bar is where the blade cuts, so you can see exactly what will get cut off. After only a month of use, the blade is dulling and tearing thin papers. This does not come with a replacement blade, and I don't want to spend any more money on this paper trimmer. Lastly, this paper trimmer caused me some pain. Now, this might be unique to me, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Last year, I suffered from frozen shoulder, and I thought it was fully healed until I started using this paper trimmer. Because there's nothing holding the paper down on this side, you have to hold it down with your hand. And as soon as I started using this paper trimmer, I started having some pains in my shoulder again. So my solution for the time being was to flip the paper trimmer upside down so I could hold onto the paper with my dominant hand closer to my body and just use my left hand for cutting. Ultimately, I've gone back to using my big old paper trimmer until I can find a good replacement. If you have any recommendations for a paper trimmer that's easy to use and precise, it doesn't need to be a scoreboard, please leave your recommendations for me in the comments below. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about the best art supplies I got this year. There are some watercolor supplies on this list, but for all my favorite watercolor supplies, check out the other videos that I linked in the description below. First up is tape. People always ask me what tape I use to tape down my watercolor paper. My all-time favorite tape is Holbein soft tape in the 1/2 inch width, but it isn't always available on Amazon, and when I run out, it doesn't ship quick enough from Blick. So I started looking for alternatives. For all of 2024, I've been using this tape. It is TSSART artist tape that I got on Amazon. I've been happy with this tape. I bought the 3-pack, so it will last me a long time. I use this 0.6 inch size, which is a good size to tape a 1/4 inch border around my watercolor paper and still have enough left over to attach the paper to the board. It is also great for taping off swatches or for grid journaling. The adhesive on this tape is pretty strong, so I always use a hairdryer before removing the tape. The heat from the hairdryer helps loosen the adhesive. It's critical to heat the tape before you remove it on less expensive papers that are more prone to tearing. On that note, if you use a hairdryer to dry paint in between layers, always check your tape when you're done. The heat may have loosened the tape and you'll want to press it down before you begin painting again. Next up are my ink blending brushes. I love these. I first discovered these when I was stenciling with ink. Then I discovered you can use them to stencil with watercolor. I just did a whole video about these. Check it out if you want to see how to use them for stenciling with watercolor. I started with just a few brushes that I got from the craft store when I was using them with ink. But when I figured out you could use them with watercolor, I got this cute set of rainbow brushes. Watch my stenciling hack video to see why it's important to have different brushes for different colors of paint. One of my absolute best art supply purchases ever are these pens. These are the Faber-Castell Artist Pitt pens. This year I got a second set to go with my first set that is still going strong. They come in a huge variety of different nib types. If you've read my ebook, The Mark Making Starter Kit, then you know these are my favorite pens for mark making. They are black India ink, and I love that you can get the same ink in so many different nibs, so you always have consistent ink color. These pens do come in some other colors, but only the black color has this many different nibs. These are waterproof, so I also use them for ink and wash watercolor sketches. They say right on the package that they have high light fastness, they're waterproof, permanent, odorless, acid-free, pH neutral, and does not bleed through the paper. So I've started using these for journaling too. I really love art supplies that I can use in so many different ways. I do recommend trying to buy these on Amazon. They were double the price at my local Michael's store, and they were higher priced at Hobby Lobby too. So check around before you purchase these. This next one is a bit more of a splurge item, but stick with me to the end because my best purchase of the year is coming up and it was only $10. I did a lot of tech upgrades in my life this year. I upgraded my 8-year-old computer to a laptop. I got a new camera. I switched from earbuds to AirPods. But this little guy is the most delightful tech gadget I got all year, and I wish I bought this sooner. This is the Canon Selfie Photo Printer. I wanted an easy way to print photos at home for journaling, and I found it. A lot of portable photo printers use zinc or zero ink technology, which is a thermal printing process and can cause the photos to fade over time. This photo printer uses a different process, and the photos are archival for 100 years, so my lifetime and beyond. You have to see how cool this is when it prints. It's so fun to watch the photo develop. The quality is really great. The last pass through the printer is a finishing coat, so you can touch the photo immediately. It can print 4x6-inch photos, but the app also has a collage feature, so you can print multiple smaller photos on the same photo sheet. There's only 2 downsides to this photo printer. One is the app. I wish it had a few more features for precise cropping and rearranging photos. But it is pretty simple to use and it allows you to print photos directly from your phone. The other downside is the power cord. It's larger than my laptop charger. I don't plan to travel with this printer, so it's not a problem for me. This printer made it so easy for me to get all my vacation photos printed for my travel journal. It has earned a permanent home on my new desk. Hands down, my #1 best art supply purchase in 2024 is this Magello Airtight Watercolor Palette. I love this thing and I have tried all kinds of palettes. This is my favorite. Here's what I love about it. It's in the name. It seals airtight, so you don't have to worry about your paints being dry before you close it up. I love the big sloped wells. I think they're so much easier to fill than watercolor pans. And they're great for large brushes. Plus, they don't have any corners. They're all rounded corners, so you can get every last bit of pigment out of these wells without damaging your brushes. There's a removable mixing tray, and I use this as my main mixing area because it's so easy to take out and clean. You can fit small brushes inside, and the palette still closes tightly for when you're traveling. On my last trip, I figured out a new trick. You can flip over this clear palette and put small brushes underneath. Then they don't move around as much. When I set up this palette, I designed this swatch card. You can get a free printable version of this swatch card in the video description below. You can print it out, transfer it to watercolor paper, and then you can paint your color swatches and add your color names. If you want to know how and why I chose these colors, watch my video on how I set up this palette for all the details. I hope in some way this review of my best and worst art supplies from the past year was helpful. Maybe it'll help you avoid some buyer's remorse or find some new art supplies that you love.